All right, welcome back. We're talking to Kevin Sell, Republican from Alexandria, running for Campbell County Judge Executive against Steve Pendry in the May primary. A lot of primaries this year in the Republican Party. Let me show a quote now from Greg Shumate, who we both know well, who's the Kenton County Republican Party chairman. And Greg told the Inquirer recently, I have never seen this many Republican primaries, and I've never seen this many primaries involving incumbents. I think it is a political climate. I think there's a very restless electorate, and I think the mood is anti-incumbent. Greg doesn't pull any punches. I think he's exactly right. Kevin, what is this anti-incumbency mood? Why is it festering right now in this nation?
Well, I think what you've seen over the last year now, since the change of power, everyone looking at every level of government, not just Tea Party mania hitting the national scene. You've actually got some very talented people in the local Tea Parties and the 912 groups that are saying stick to the Constitution, stick to what state law, county ordinances, tell you that you must provide. Don't go beyond it. Don't take on additional debt. We don't want to pay the taxes. And I think it's come within the last 11 months. It's come full circle, and it's at every level, and it absolutely is anti-incumbent.
And I think it started with the Bush administration, too. Because
I believe so.
A lot of the true conservatives, including a lot of my friends in Boone County, they were banging on George Bush for a long time, back to this prescription drug benefit.
Right.
And there's been a concern about spending. So right now it is manifesting on the Democrats because they're in the administration, and they had a big year in 2008. I thought it was interesting that Barack Obama, after the elections in New Jersey and Virginia came out, and basically shelved cap and trade and said the State of the Union is going to be about jobs and deficit reduction.
Right.
So it seems like he got the message. We'll see how he governs. Let's get back to Northern Kentucky. Now, as 4th District Chairman, you supported Steve Pendry. You know him. Just I guess on a personal level almost, Kevin, was this a difficult decision for you to make to take him on? Because Steve Pendry was seen at one time, and still by some, as a rising star in this party. Thought about running for Congress, has been mentioned to run for state office. Was this difficult for you?
Not if you look at the last 4 years, or 3 years, actually, and compare that with the prior 2 terms. In 1997, and you talked about the flood, and we were down there working all of that, and we did not have a visible judge executive at the time. In fact, if it wasn't for Ray Mintz Sr., and I think we told you this, and Dave Sampas and Katie Stein, we had no folks that would come down there that we could rely on that was getting the message to Frankfort and where it needed to be. And that was one of the reasons that I think he was able to win quite handily, was because of that, because what he wanted to bring to the table. However, I don't think anyone expected 11 years of tax increases. I don't think anyone expected, with the diversity and the population shift to the south, to still plow all the resources in essentially one location. And I did think that at that time that most people thought there would be an increase in industrial development, more than what the prior administration did, more than what the Patton administration had on the books. I'm talking about grassroots implementation of industrial growth.
All right, so how will you change that? And let's talk about some of your priorities, Kevin. Talk about what you want to do for this county and how you're going to get it done.
Well, I think the key to a lot of this is industrial growth. And quite honestly, when you look at the areas that we have that are zoned as such, the south end of the county by Sara Lee has sat out there by itself since it was built. It's zoned industrial. Rice Concrete, that sits a little bit north on the other side of the road, they've actually got 3 zoning issues. They're industrial, commercial, residential. You think that you could free that up somehow, to help them further develop what they want to do, because you've got a next generation of family ownership there. And places near and dear to my heart, Route 8, Silver Grove, Melbourne, the areas that are above floodplain that have river, road, and rail, strengthening that access to Route 8, which why it's taken them so long to even get that extra lane on Industrial Road is beyond me. That should have been something from the beginning. But as the market picks up, and I'm not about to say that it's going to pick up quickly, I think we're in an L-shaped recession, and we're going to get ripples before we get waves. But there's going to come a time where Lafarge may want to expand. There's going to come a time where I think we need to look at Wilder Newport because of the combinations and support it as such. Places where Castellini is at, Building Crafts are located, IPSCO Steel, which I heard, that they're sectioning off that property. But we'd like to see them come back. We'd like to see them stay. You remember years ago, it was, if you lived in the county, it was Interlake Steel, it was the railroad in Silver Grove, it was St. Luke Hospital. We had that industry here where we produced more than we bought, and it supported the retail, it supported the small mom and pop shops, it supported the churches, the schools. It was a 360-degree application, and I think we're falling short. That's going to be my focus.
Talk about, you've already picked up some pretty impressive endorsements from a couple of legislators. Talk
about
that.
I was very proud and honored to get an endorsement from Senator John Schickel. Also, Senator Jack Westwood, who's been around for a while and is well known, a true statesman, in my opinion. Former Assistant Secretary of Labor in charge of OSHA, Edwin Fulk, and the Newport firefighters and the airport firefighters.
How much, Steve Pendry is an incumbent. He's always raised a lot of money in the past. How much money is it going to take to win this race? How much do you think you're going to have to raise and spend?
Well, I think it's going to take whatever it takes. Yeah. I'm not a big advocate of dumping a lot of money in a primary or raising a lot of. I know that there's always disadvantages there when you're looking at a primary in one way or another, but truthfully, with what we need to do in this primary is all based around grassroots. Yeah. And a lot of those things, if you have the right people that want to invest the sweat equity to get you elected, that motivation, that commitment, that mutual belief, and that same agenda is what works. And we're seeing now, and you know as well as I do, you talk about anti-incumbent. There are people that are getting elected that are being outspent 3 and 5 to 1.
Oh, yeah.
And if you look at the congressional race with when Ken Lucas tried to re-grab his seat, Democratic National Party outspent us tremendously. Now, granted, there was influence there that wanted to dump that money, but it didn't work. In fact, Jeff won big.
Well, in a primary, no matter who's running, you or Pender or anybody, particularly in Campbell County primary, where Jeff Kidwell's done a very good job wiring that county.
True.
You can touch everybody who's going to vote in that primary. I mean, it's probably going to be 6,000 people, 6,500 people. My source knows who they are on that analysis. I can't mention them, but you know who it is. So we're going to take a break and come back, and we're going to wrap up with Kevin Sell. He's running for Judge Executive in Campbell County. He's a Republican. We'll be right back.